On Wednesday, December 4th, in the early morning hours, Brian Thompson, CEO of the American UnitedHealthcare company, was gunned down from behind while walking to a meeting in New York City. 5 days later, Towson, Maryland resident Luigi Mangione was arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Questions abound as to what turned the valedictorian of the prestigious Gilman School and the honor student at the University of Pennsylvania into a suspected assassin. Laurie, how do you make sense of such a senseless tragedy?
Well, you really can't make any sense of it. And I know that our news are bombarded now, or they're trying to make sense of it. He was a prominent, he was part of a prominent family in Baltimore. He was a valedictorian. He had the best education you could possibly have, and he really had a bright future ahead of him. So what went wrong? I mean, I think, even his mother, she's notified authorities that she couldn't get a hold of him. So something went wrong. And I think he had a mental illness of some kind. And I think he was fixated on one of the biggest problems our country has, and that's the healthcare industry and how it's broken. And he just was fixated on it and somehow went downhill from there. Very, very sad to see such a thing happening. So hopefully we'll have more answers about his health later on, but no excuse for doing anything like that. And it's kind of crazy what people are saying on TikTok and things about this young man.
I think what's, again, I think all the speculation that is going on and all the comments, kind of are people venting for themselves, and because there's certainly not enough facts or details. Mike, Christmas in 2 weeks, there will be a wife without a husband and 2 children without a father. And yet there are those that are celebrating the murder of this CEO. And the question is why?
Well, I don't know if they're celebrating the murder. And certainly there's no way to justify that in any capacity. I think one issue that this has brought to the fore, as Laurie indicated, is the challenges that we have with healthcare in the United States. And people are ascribing somehow his motives being driven by that, and they may not have been. Clearly, provision of healthcare in the United States is a challenge. We have it's the most expensive, richest system in the world, and yet our health outcomes are nowhere near where they ought to be. We think we're 42nd or 43rd as it relates to life expectancy and overall health and well-being of our residents. And so whether or not is that a bridge too far? It probably is. But if it allows us, if there's something that we can take positive out of a very tragic situation, and it forces us to examine how we actually provide healthcare and insurance to our residents so that people can actually be healthier and be better off, that may be a positive that comes out of this, if it actually engages us in a real conversation along those lines, which in no way justifies anything. It was a tragic situation. My heart goes out to their family. And to friends. And at the same time, we also have to recognize that as a result of our inadequacies in healthcare, that there are families across the country that also are going to be missing loved ones as a result of inadequate access to healthcare or insurance and challenges that they've had in trying to get those addressed. And so hopefully it will allow us to have a conversation that we need to have earnestly in this country that we've not been able to have.
Well, that's true, but vigilantism is not the solution to a problem as widely spread as what we've seen, with the healthcare.
Nothing that I just said.
I know, I understand
at all, and so I recognize that, and that's not a way to do it. I was just trying to say, if there is a way to find a positive element that we could potentially get to as a result of this very tragic situation, which was poorly handled all the way around, then that could be a potential silver lining if it allows us to have that conversation.
Well, I understand that, and I wasn't trying to suggest that you were saying otherwise. I just was, I think, expressing for myself, because it's hard to disassociate what happened if he had spinal injury and spinal surgery. I'm a lawyer. Malpractice lawsuits happen all the time in the medical profession if someone has had bad surgery. How do you disassociate yourself from that instance and think that the whole healthcare system is at fault? And we will probably never know unless somehow Mr. Mangione is able to express that to us.
Yeah. I mean, my son's had a teammate in school who had issues with his health, and he committed suicide years ago. And, there are mental problems that happen when this young man had a back problem. So I can see how that could be an issue.
Well, I mean, and that, relates also to the opioid crisis there, where people were over prescribed for medication.